and Nyob to each and every one of you. As you can tell, I'm currently in my backyard enjoying all of my kombucha squashes this year. They are growing so nicely, so I wanted to show you all what I like to do with the outer shoots. So today I'm going to show you how to make in what we like to call it in Hmong Leeg, Taub Hau Ntsug, and that basically translates to as the outer shoots of a squash or pumpkin plant boiled with smoked beef. I did show you all how to make a Taub Hau dish with pork or crispy pork. So if you want to check out that video, I'll put the links down below for all of you who are interested. But in today's version, I'm going to make it with smoked beef because it's also delicious with smoked beef. And we just smoked some beef a couple weeks ago. If you want to check out that video, I'll have the links down below as well to show you how to make smoked beef for those who haven't seen it yet. Other than that, before we start, let's go pick some squash shoots and then we can start cooking. So let's go. So these are the outer shoots here. So if you don't pick them soon enough, they will mature and get a little bit hard, too hard to cook with. It's not tender anymore. And there's more over there and over there. So I'll go pick those up. And anytime I work with pumpkin or squash shoots, I like to wear gloves because the stems are very, very spiky. So I want to make sure I don't poke any of my fingers. Best way to get these is with a knife. I like to take this and just cut it at this part here. And then you get this. Beautiful. So if you notice, you can see here the stems are very, very spiky, so you want to be careful. No, pumpkin or squash shoots might be really hard for some of you to obtain or get a hold of because you can't plant them on yourselves or your local Asian markets don't have it. So I recommend going to any of your local farmers market to see if they have those. Sometimes if you do check at your local Asian markets, you can probably find them if it's seasonal, but if you don't grow them yourself, it's a little bit hard to actually go find them. And this is the first year I grew kombucha plants. They are so nice to me this year, and I have so many outer shoots. This is probably my third round of eating these. And you don't need to worry about killing the plant because once you cut the outer shoots out, they will reproduce again, so they won't die on you if you were curious. And I wanted to show you right here these two little kombucha squashes that are growing here. They won't get any more matured, so at this point we're gonna pick them because we already have some matured kombucha squash growing, which I'll show you in a bit. But these in Hmong Leeg we like to call these Nqaj Nyuj, and Nqaj Nyuj basically translates to as like an egg squash or an egg pumpkin because of how small it is. It's pretty much like an egg size. So we're gonna pick these and put them in the soup as well because they won't get any bigger. So yeah, these are called Nqaj Nyuj. Basically translates to as egg squash because they're shaped like eggs, or they're small like eggs. Here's another beauty here. Oh my gosh, this one is a keeper. Let me show you another beauty here. This one is gorgeous. So we harvest a pretty good bundle here, quite a lot to use for soups. So once these are picked, we have to clean them and trim them. So the stems, as you notice, it's really prickly. So what we like to do is at the very tip here where it's cut, we'll take a little piece of it and peel off the outer pokey parts. And again, wear gloves. Highly recommend wearing gloves so you don't poke your fingers. But just go around and you'll go and pick out the prickly parts here. And if you don't get all of it, that's totally fine because at the very tip here, when we cook it down, it will tenderize and it won't really poke you when you're eating it. So that's good. As you trim it, you can break it apart into smaller bite-sized pieces. So like this, I'll just break it in half so that when we cook it, it's easier to eat. I do want to note these really curly, wriggly stems here, you can take it off because you don't really need to eat that texture-wise. So these are nice and trimmed and peeled. At this point, we're gonna go wash it, give it a nice rinse, and then cut these a little bit smaller into bite-sized chunks, and then we can start cooking the soup. So here is the smoked beef that my mom and I cooked up a couple weeks ago. I just took it out of the freezer and let it defrost, and I'm gonna cook it even more to kind of tenderize the beef. So I'm gonna place it in my Instapot, add in about a quart of water, and then close it and let it cook on the stew and meat section on high for about 30 minutes. Okay, so the meat is cooked and I did slice it into bite-sized pieces. So at this point, I have a pot with about 8 cups of water. To that, I'm gonna add in the liquid that we cooked the smoked beef in. So roughly total amount of water is around 3 quarts or 12 cups of water. And then we'll add in the smoked beef that we cut up. Let's season it with some salt. And I have some mushroom seasoning. So the meat is pretty much cooked. At this point, we're gonna add in our squash. And I did add 1 loaf of gourd in there because I like the texture and the sweetness of it, in addition to the small egg squash that we picked earlier. So I just cut them into bite-sized pieces. We're gonna add it straight into with the meat. And 1 lemongrass leaf bundle here that I kept in the freezer so we can use it for soups. I'm going to cover this and let it boil for at least 2 to 5 minutes, just until the squashes are slightly cooked to the bite, but not overcooked. Okay, so it's been about 3 minutes of boiling. At this point, go ahead and taste it for seasoning before we add in the squash shoots. We're gonna go straight in with the squash shoots. Okay, press this down, get it cooked evenly. Make sure you don't overcook any of the squash because they will get mushy. Same with these shoots. Give it about maybe 3 minutes of cooking time. If you do overcook it, it does get mushy and break apart in the soup. Oh, don't forget to add chili peppers in there. I'm adding about 3 chili pepper that I sliced in half. The squash shoots are nice and tender, but not overcooked. I tasted it. The broth is nice and salty to my liking. I am going to turn off the heat, and then I'm going to drop in some fresh basil. Basil from my garden. I picked these from my garden. So nice and flavorful. And mix that really well. And this is it. Let's go and serve this with some rice and enjoy it as it is. Like always, the best way to eat this, especially for me, is to simply add rice into the soup and eat it as is. Definitely a great soup for summer. Yum! Also, I have some pretty exciting news for all of you. I have officially launched my Patreon account where I'll be able to answer any culinary questions that you may have. You'll get access to early recipes before I release it. You'll also be able to get ad-free videos for my current videos and also get exclusive look at our garden and what we've been planting this year. So I have a lot of really exciting content that I can't wait to share. So if you want to join and become a C.HerCreations Patreon member, I'll put the link down below for you to check out all the different tiers that I have and what comes in those tiers. But other than that, I'm very excited, and I hope you all join and become a C.HerCreations squad, and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you so much. Until then, I'll see you when I see you. Also, look at this bee. Loves the blossoms.